All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checker TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Area 51 IndyCar Series here tonight at Chicagoland Speedway. Drivers just putting down their qualifying laps, getting things underway. So last week had the season opener, basically the sister track of Chicagoland being Kansas Speedway. Say big differences between the two, though. I feel like Chicagoland a lot more abrasive here. So maybe after the fuel run, say that white line may not be as potent as we saw last week at Kansas. So we'll see. But I mean, obviously, also I'm sure a lot of drivers thinking about how that race went. Say, okay, what did I learn from that? What can I take from that? And so maybe some question marks on the fuel mileage, because talk to some drivers, sounds like about 32 roughly laps on fuel. And with a 120 lap race, that means in theory should be a 4-stop race, or 3 or 4 stop race. Let's say I'm not going to do the math right now offhand. I know it's one of those two. So let's say putting their laps down right now, and of course Jack Wall's getting the big win last week over there. So Boomer, we're back. I'll say again, sister track going from Kansas to Chicago. And if you kind of look twice, you don't know which track you're at. But I think again, just the abrasiveness of the track is kind of the big telltale for Chicago.
Yeah, definitely a beautiful racetrack. Unfortunately, pretty much only going to be around in the sim from now on. But I'm excited for this track. I love racing this track no matter what kind of car we're running, and it'll be definitely a challenge and a lot of fun to see these IndyCar guys running tonight in the Area 51 League. It'll be exciting.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun. So yeah, right now drivers all putting down the laps right now to get things underway. And so it looks like had about 18 drivers to enter here this evening. So a pretty decent field count. Still trying to add a few more here and there. Again, a few newer names, newer faces to the league. So that's always good to see. Hopefully everybody gets familiar with things here tonight. So I think the driver probably that's going to have the most that they want to kind of prove tonight to me is going to be that 49 of Jari Brupacher. Felt like he was pretty much in the catbird seat last week, but unfortunately just incident on pit entry caught him out of spot there, and unfortunately that ended his night. So I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that 49. I think he's going to be one to watch, but of course then you got to look at the regulars, the hitters, if you will. Like the Nick Degroots, Craig Forsyth, Matt Wagner, like the ones that we've seen pretty much vying for the championship every season. So, but at the same time, we saw some names that were up front early and often last week. So, say this might be their season where they've been able to step up their game during that off season. So it's gonna be fun to see what these guys have in store for us tonight.
Yeah, definitely. We saw Jack Walls last week towards the end of the race managed to get out front and just hold that bottom lane, hold a pretty wheel. Definitely might be a little bit more difficult this week to try and do that at, like you said, such a more abrasive track, even though the layout is very similar. Obviously, maybe a little bit more of a curved backstretch here at Chicagoland than last week, but definitely still pretty similar to Kansas Speedway. But we'll have to see who can hold that wheel prettiest on that bottom, and try not to let anyone else around on the outside.
Yeah, I'll definitely be seeing our fair share of rim riders as well. I have a feeling just that's, again, let's say we've seen a lot of drivers, they loved around that third lane. Let's say the 51, Jim Brooks, we definitely saw a lot of that from him last week at Kansas. We'll see if he does the same here tonight. As I say, qualifying just about completed, and I'll say at the very end of the session, a big lap put in there to jump to the top, so won't spoil it though. I'll say we'll do that once we get to that starting grid here tonight, but I'll say a late qualifying change for the top spot there, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. I'll say that's these guys, they're going for everything they can here. So I'm saying it looks like that's gonna complete it here, Boomer. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're gonna pull up that starting grid and say we'll kick off with that top 10 here. And I'll switch over to you from 11th on back, and it's gonna be Craig Forsyth on pole position by 200ths over Matt Wagner. And then our defending champion Nick Degroot in third. Jeff Heisung, Eric Peterson, our top 5. Then you got Jari Brupacher again, one that feels like he got away from him last week. Jim Herrick, Eric Shouse, Charles Johnson, and Jim Brooks going to round out our top 10.
And we got starting in number 11th place is going to be Gary Corley, followed by Jason Hand on the outside of the 6th row, followed by Jared Kaczynski in the 13th place, and Joseph Morales in 14th. 15th will be Robert DuPont, followed by Gary Godso on his outside, and we'll round out our last row of the race will be Dan Morera in 17th, followed by Joseph DeCiro riding shotgun to start the field.
So, yep, so those will be our 18 starters. So say everybody's starting to grid up to get things underway. Again, for the Indy Series, a little different than the other Area 51 series. No green-white checkers here, so 120 laps will be the race distance. However, drivers do still have that one faster pair that they will be able to use if and when they need it. Of course, end goal not to have to use it, because again, there's also bonus points for those that can have an incident-free race here tonight. So that's going to be, again, some things the drivers are going to look for. Again, first 8 races will set the final. I'm sorry. It's a full 12 race season. I apologize. So no playoffs or anything here either. So they've kind of gone full on with the Indy cars, and of course, initial start on the green, double file restart and then on the restarts, single file leader has control. So those will be the big changes from what you see normally in the stock car series to the open wheel over here. Just waiting for, it looks like, about 2 more drivers to hop on track, and we're about to get things underway. But looks like a couple drivers here actually not gridding here. Notably, the number 6, our second place driver in qualifying, Matt Wagner, and then the 07 looks like of Robert DuPont. So a little surprised to see Matt opting to start from the pits, or maybe some technical difficulties for that 6 car. So big promotion on that one's going to go, I believe, to Jeff Hysong, who's going to jump from 4th to 2nd on this restart.
Yeah, already showing +2 spots before the race even starts, and that's definitely something you love to see. Definitely love getting a few of those free spots. It always seems whenever I grid, it's always the guys on the opposite row than me that get to move up a few, but definitely lucky if you're the one in that row, or the ones in that full row who get to move up a whole spot. So definitely a good advantage there for them tonight.
Yeah, so it's always nice to get those little freebies. So yeah, it's a great opportunity for Jeff now. I mean, again, he's going to now lead this top side, and so he can just try to be that first one in the clean air on the second group. I have a sinking suspicion Craig Forsyth, he's going to be pretty much living on that white line, especially when you've got someone like Nick Degroot that's going to restart right behind you, or I should say start the race right behind you. So I think for Craig, his goal here is just going to be kind of run the fuel mileage, and that's going to be also the question, though, like we said, Boomer, is going to be what's going to be the right strategy here. Do you want to 3-stop it, kind of go 30, 60, 90, then make it to the 120? Or try to do something different, maybe try to go 40, 80. There's a lot of options, so we'll see. However, green flag is out, and we are underway as Craig Forsyth and Jeff Hysong lead the field here to begin.
Getting underway as the green lights flash. We are looking at
big start, Eric Shouse.
Yeah, big move there to the inside. Looks like he may even be inside. Craig may shut the door. Craig gets there to the inside in turn number 3 and 4, and it looks like he's going to come around from the pole and lead our first lap.
Yeah, that was close there, Eric. I mean, he was about 6 spots gained there coming out of turn number 2, so great start for that 72 car. But now everybody's starting to get a little bit more situated here as it's brought Jeff Hysong. We've kind of talked about him early, maybe be able to make some big moves, and there he goes. He's going to try to go after it right away here, jump to that top side as we mentioned earlier. Keep the clean air on the front wing of the car. He actually, look at this, he's going to try to maybe cut under, but you see right there, Craig wasting no time. He's going to make sure that they have to go around him the long ways, but this is where these guys are going to start to try to learn and find what they can do to kind of get things sorted out. And actually it looks like, now looking at the timing and scoring, it looks like actually Robert DuPont, Matt Wagner both not taking part in the grid here, so unfortunately it looks like both those drivers possibly out of the race before it even kicked off, unfortunately. So at the moment, that's going to put 16 cars on track here.
Yeah, and it's still definitely very early, but give you some chances to try the outside, the high side, and see if anything you can make anything happen out there. Obviously, they're kind of settling in here a little bit, just getting a feel for how the track's going to feel, and probably trying to get a feel for trying to make sure you can save a little bit here at the beginning of the run. But as the race goes on, you'll definitely understand a little bit more about how the car is going to react later and later. But there's still plenty to learn, even in these few opening laps here with fresh tires and a full tank of fuel. Yeah, exactly right. I do need to mention Matt Wagner actually just now rolling out of pit road, so he's going to kind of come in right in the middle of the pack. This is going to be a pretty tough spot to get started in here. You mentioned drivers trying to find the lines they want to run, and as soon as you talk about someone running the top side, my brain went right away to that 51 Jim Brooks. We talked about it pre-race, and he is doing just that. He's trying to work now 3 wide here to the outside of the 18 of Jeff Hysong. Matt Wagner here, he's going to try to hustle this car a little bit, probably try to push hard, see if he can find a way to get around Craig Forsyth, because right now showing 6 down
of course, I mean, it's still obviously a long way for that 5 car to go, but if he can get around that 27, drops him down to 5 laps down, which he does right there. And I think that's a call by Craig Forsyth saying, hey, you know what? You go ahead, you lead this race. I'm going to start saving fuel on you because I don't want to get run over by these guys on the field mileage here, which is a big opportunity now for that 51 of Jim Brooks, who's now working that top side around the 27, move that 51 to the lead.
Yeah, to the point in that black and green beautiful car is Jim Brooks. Looks like he is going to lead his first lap of the race. Obviously, reminder that Matt Wagner there in the 6 car is a lap down, and the rest of the field might even get a chance to draft off of him, like you're saying. He's probably got the freshest tires out here, and gives some of these leaders a chance to maybe save some fuel tucking behind him. But it looks like Jim Brooks is still going to fight on the outside to try and maintain this lead here that he has after leading his second lap.
Yeah, that's obviously a little bit of insider knowledge on my side, but I feel like Jim's kind of one of those old habits die hard type of drivers where he's not one that likes to really sit and ride if he doesn't have to. And so obviously don't know exactly what the fuel mileage is going to be for that 51 car with him leading this field. And like you said, probably just going full map 1 and just going full aggression here. So yeah, maybe a little bit of fuel mileage deficit for him at this point, but and saying that's where these guys get pretty wily, like a Craig Forsyth. He'll start to see like, okay, Nick Degroot, he hasn't made a big charge. He might be trying to do something here, like I said, maybe trying to pull that fuel strategy, make it, let's say, lap 40 instead of lap 30, see if you can cut a pit stop off out of these cars here if we stay green. So there's a lot of gamesmanship, a lot of strategy involved in these things. So yeah, right now, let's say Jim's trying to hang on to that lead, but now I think Yari's going to do the same as Jim, tight on Matt Wagner there entering turn number 1. And that's the thing, is these guys are going to start to get just that little bit more and more racy as this run continues on, and we'll see how that tire wear comes into a factor here tonight.
Yeah, definitely going to make a difference as the run goes on. I will definitely guarantee you're going to see a little bit of tire wear and see some of these lap times fall off. So far, not really much at all. Actually, in fact, Craig Forsyth, Eric Shouse, Dan Marrera, and Nick Degroot all running their fastest laps of the race that previous lap.
Yes, and that's exactly as there's going to still be a lot of fast times. And speaking of which, obviously we made mention of the early big moves of 51 of Jim Brooks getting to a lead. He's at +9 from his starting spot. Again, newer name, newer face of the league, Dan Marrera there in that number 26 car. He has jumped 11 spots now up into that top 6 right now, trying to get into that top 5. And again, also looks like he's pretty comfortable running that second and third lane here. So looks like Dan's got something under his belt as well for these guys here tonight. But right now, Jim Brooks, Jari Brupacher, they're kind of all trying to figure out, okay, where do I want to position my car? Sometimes Jari want to try to go low, then he jumps back up top. So yeah, everybody's just trying to find where that preferred spot is. But now it seems like, yeah, indeed, Jim's just kind of gotten comfortable here behind that number 6 of Matt Wagner. It actually looks like timing scoring updating here, Boomer. I think they had him more laps down than he was, because actually now showing him actually at the tail end of 3 down. Definitely much more manageable depending on how the rest of this race goes.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. Obviously, going from 4 laps down to 3 laps down here, unlapping himself. Obviously, still an opportunity for these leaders to pass him as they work on the outside of him now, and for him to go back a 4th lap down. But hopefully, if he can manage to stay here at 3 laps down, it might give him an opportunity to get back to 2 if there were an early yellow to come out. So definitely going to be a long night for Matt Wagner to try and battle back. He's going to hope that there aren't he's going to hope that there are enough cautions to get him back on the lead lap without causing any damage to his own number 6 machine.
Yeah, so it's one of those catch-22s. You want the yellows, but you don't want them to be the yellows. And look at Yari. Yari's just making moves all over the place here, trying to jump low, jump high, just trying to figure out, how do I get around these guys? How can I get to the front here? Hasn't found the right move yet, but it's not for a lack of effort in that 49. I think also right here, this might be his best opportunity, just about able to clear the 51 of Jim Brooks. He's going to now get in that dirty air, and yeah, big wash up in front of that 51. I say 51 probably had to roll out of it a little bit to avoid the contact, and that's the dirty air with these cars, but that promotes Yari now up to the point there, just that little bit of a moment. And this is interesting too, because again, talk about the incident for last week for Yari. The car that had the kind of bobbled in the pit entry and then kind of drifted back up track in front of him was that 6 car right there of Matt Wagner. So I'll say you don't really expect and assume to see anything of these drivers, but at the same time, Boomer, these guys all have a very, very good memory of those that may have hurt their chances at a win or a good finish in previous races. So you wonder if that's kind of in the back of Yari's mind here still.
Oh yeah, I would absolutely think for sure. I mean, obviously nothing that Matt did intentionally, and we know Matt's obviously a pretty good racer, been around for quite a while, and even an admin in the league. But I'm sure even Matt didn't want to see what happened last week to Yari. But it's racing, it happens, and just one of those things that you kind of don't forget, and maybe played a little bit cautious. But it looks like Yari's got a fairly short-term memory, because he's absolutely gunning for it here, and not really caring too much about what happened last week at all.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean to mention, we talked a little earlier about Dan Marrera. He has now indeed worked his way into that top 5 behind Eric Shouse right there. And also staying still right into the picture here is that 18 and Jeff Heisong. Started 4th, got the promotion to the front row due to whatever issues Matt had. And then also, again, some drivers that we're very familiar with but haven't raced here lately, especially on the Indy side, is that number 9 of Charles Johnson. Very familiar with him over on the Thursday and Sunday Super Speedway Series leagues, or Super Speedway Series, I should say. But yeah, so he's made his way over onto the open wheel Indy side, so pretty fun to see Charles in the mix here as well. But I think the big thing we didn't expect to see right now, though, Boomer, is Nick Degroot kind of just cruising here in that 11th spot. So I think Nick, like I said, I think he is full on. I've got my fuel strategy, and I think that's what we're seeing out of this number 89 at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can stretch it to 40 laps, you can make it on, was it 2 stops, 3 stints, and I think that would be a huge advantage to take that, to have 1 less pit stop. Because, I mean, realistically, he's only 2 seconds back from the lead. That's not really going to, if you're going to take an extra pit stop, you're not going to make up that 2 seconds. So if he can save enough fuel where he is in the pack, definitely be a good, big advantage for him tonight at Chicagoland.
Yeah, exactly right. And so what's happening right now, though, is the top 2 starting to break away a little bit here. Yari and Matt have opened up to about 6-7 tenths lead over Jim Brooks and Craig Forsyth. And say right now, looking at the lap times, and it's still pretty equal, but I think Jim's just trying to find the clean air and keep that car in a good position on track. But maybe that early running aggressive is starting to hurt those tires a little bit, or maybe something I may have missed a little bit earlier. But yeah, right now, say they've opened up just a little bit of distance on these guys. So we'll see. We're about starting lap number 25 here. So we talked about the fuel window. In theory, full rich, full aggression, probably about 32 roughly laps of fuel. Like I said, these guys, they love to play fuel mileage games. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see that range stretch from that 32 number. Probably knowing some of these guys, probably, like I said, try to get that magical lap number 40 mark to cut a pit stop out of this.
Yeah, definitely. And it almost looks like we aren't going to see too much of a difference with tires, because we are obviously working on lap 26 of the race here. Jim Brooks and Craig Forsyth, the previous lap, 25, ran their fastest laps of the race. So these guys are definitely still within 2-3 tenths a lap from their fastest times. Nick Degroot, that last lap was actually 25:19. His best circuit was a 25:17. So they're right on top of where they've been, maybe a couple tenths here, trading back and not running the fastest laps every lap, but tires not seeming to be that much of a difference, so it's probably going to come down almost exclusively to a fuel race here tonight.
Yeah, so that's one of those things with these Indy cars is, tire wear, obviously maybe not too terrible, but at the same time, too, the weight of these cars, that's really, to me, the great equalizer, because the lighter these things are, the faster they go, the better they are. And so I think even with worse tire wear, as we're almost going 3 wide here for 3rd with Eric, Jim, and Craig, but the lighter these cars get, even with the tire wear, just the lightness of the fuel, and that's why you'll see these guys. It's not like in stock car series. They go ahead and they just decide to go ahead and basically just put on the last stop just enough fuel to make sure that they can make it to the end. So so right now I think that's probably also going to be going through the minds of some of these drivers here. And then so unfortunately, Scott, for Matt Wagner, something at the beginning of the race, qualified in 2nd, but didn't grid in time for the start of the race, and so basically came out of the pits about 4 down, was able to get out track right with the lead pack, get around Craig Forsyth, and now just been kind of living on the tail end of 3 down here for about the previous 25 or so laps here. in that 6 machine. Just right now, I think he's just banking and hoping for that yellow to at least give himself a fighting chance, start making up some more of those laps. But speaking of which, Boomer, on those laps here, we're down at lap number 30 here, so we're at the quarter distance of this race. So we'll see if we have any 3 pit stop takers. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys seem to be on that 2-stop mindset just from what we're looking at.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to save a ton to get to that 40-lap mark, but based on... Oh, we do have one coming down pit road. Looks like Joseph DeCiro actually did come down this time by, so...
Yep, you're right, the 110 on pit road. So this is basically Joseph saying, okay, I'm doing the three pit stop race. So we'll see if anybody else, much further can they go, because there have been a lot of drivers, pushing pretty hard here. So I don't think we'll see too many be able to run all the way. As I was saying, speaking of, we have the next Joseph Morales in the 60. He hits pit road as well at 32. So yeah, so right now I think the pit road is going to be opening pretty soon here. The question will be, yeah, how far can these guys go on fuel? And of course, the other thought too is maybe even if they can't make it on a 2-stopper, make that 3rd stop as short as humanly possible. As need to mention, Jim Brooks, he has just hit pit road as well in that 51 that was right up front with the leaders. So this will be a pretty good tell to see how he does in relation to these guys up front for pit stop loss. And then, of course, to see how long a pit stop takes here under green.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see where Jim does cycle back out, being so close to the leader, not leaders. He was one of the leaders, just to see where he comes out. But I would assume that they're probably going to lose at least 1 lap.
Yeah, it looks like it'll be about 1 solid lap, because as the field swung on by, he's just rolling now out of pit road. So basically looks like probably... effectively, by the time he gets up to speed, probably about 1.5 laps, basically. So, and I have noticed that this pit exit is definitely very treacherous. These cars are not very happy. And here comes Yari, actually. He's going to try to get down to speed. You see a late apex and just cuts inside the cone there. You saw in the background, Charles Johnson, though, did not make it. He's going to have to try to loop around here and hopefully has enough fuel to go another lap here. So that's going to be now Jim Brooks, Yari Brubacher, first of our leaders to hit pit road. So we'll see. Matt Wagner probably not too far away from pitting himself. That now moves Eric Shouse, Craig Forsyth to the front. And we'll see any takers yet. Yeah, we have the 26 of Dan Marrero. Mentioned him, some big gains early. And here comes a few more, Jared Kaczynski and Jason Hand also. So the window's definitely opening here. But again, if some of these guys, if they can go 4 more laps, Boomer, that puts them in that window of maybe making this a 2-stopper.
Right, and especially if this stays as calm as it has with this 17-car field now that Robert DuPont is out. I feel like it would be a good opportunity for Matt Wagner to actually not have to pit. Or if you can stretch it out, I think to 40 laps, I think it's going to be a huge difference. But I think Matt Wagner is actually going to be one of the very few that might be able to do it without having to really push to save. Obviously, that he started a couple laps down, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out. So actually, here comes a bunch of them on pit road. A little bit of contact between the 72 and the 27. I saw one spitting on pit entry there. I think that may have been Gary Corley. And so, yeah, everything just kicked off here, unfortunately, Boomer. And I say Craig Forsyth looks like may have got the worst of it. There was contact between him and Eric Shouse on pit road entry. But then also Gary Corley was spun on entry, but was able to save it, which now leaves just 2 drivers. Oh, almost contact on the entry. Jim Herrick trying to save that car on the pit road. Oh, he collects the cone as well. As it's getting very treacherous here now, as that leaves. So we talked about Nick Degroot. Looked like he was kind of going for sure fuel save. And say he has now been able to go the furthest of anybody to hit pit road, as Matt Wagner also has hit pit road. So now the question is, can that 89 car, can he run 1 more lap here? Actually, he's on 39 now. This will be pitting at 40. And it looks like, yep, here he comes. He's going to come in and hit pit road as well, which will complete our pit cycle.
Okay, so it looks like, based on that, Nick Degroot may be the only one that has enough fuel to be able to save enough without absolutely, slowing down too much. So this will be interesting to see. I mean, most of these guys pitted lap 37, 36, 35, 34. I really don't see anyone other than maybe Nick Degroot or was it Jim? Oh, Jim Herrick and Eric Shouse are on pit road because of their damage too. But yeah, I really don't see anyone other than maybe Matt Wagner being able to stretch it. Although Matt Wagner came down on flip 34 himself, so
Yeah, right now I think it's Nick Degroot, but the problem is he needs a little bit of a break, and he's going to get that break, it looks like, possibly in the form of Jeff Heisong, because right now this field is just completely strung out, Boomer. Right now, here are our leaders here. You got Jim Brooks, Yari Brupacher, and they've got a 2.5 second lead over Jeff Heisong there back in third. So if these two can work together, they could probably kind of keep building the gap on these guys behind them. But this is a tough spot to be. So say, do you try to leapfrog? We talk about the way these cars draft. Leapfrogging is kind of the places where they like to you get the draft, you let someone by, and you kind of rinse repeat. So we'll see if maybe Jim and Yari here maybe consider like, hey, let's try working together. Let's say, because right now they've got about, again, 2.5 seconds over Jeff Heisong. And then Jeff's about to start leading a train, which, again, Nick Degroot, one of those who, especially for Nick, I think zero pressure from Nick here. I think he's just going to have to full ride here behind Jeff if he wants to make this pit strategy work. So, yeah, right now, to me, it's kind of, again, pending pit stop issues and cautions and all that, kind of a 3-car race for the win as things run. But actually, surprising there, look at Nick Degroot. He actually goes around that 18 car. So I would say, honestly, probably throw the fuel in and out of the picture for that 89 here. So yeah, right now I'm going to say advantage definitely goes to this 51 and the 49 here, as they were getting around Gary Corley there in that 7, as he's now gone to 2 laps down, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely unfortunate for him to be a few laps down already. But yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it seems like this race is pretty quiet so far. Who knows? Maybe a little bit of commentator's curse there. But we've been pretty quiet so far, and it does seem to have the possibility to go the distance, unless we do have more chaos as it comes down to pit road and pit road entries or pit road exit, because it's definitely, especially as the tires wear out a little bit. Obviously not too crazy here tonight, but when the tires do wear out, there's definitely a difference in getting to pit road and getting slowed down, and then when you get those 4 fresh, cold tires put on right away, a pit exit is definitely going to be a little treacherous there as well. So it'll be interesting to see if we can manage to keep it quiet and stay green the rest of the way, but it looks like it's definitely shaping up for that so far. Assuming the commentator's curse doesn't ruin that, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, what I am noticing though is we've been watching right here with Nick and with Nick and Jeff here, and we remember I just mentioned that leapfrog approach, and that's exactly what they're doing right now. Basically, one gets the run, they switch, and then they continue on. But actually, this last time by, it looks like Nick's actually opted to stay up in front here, and they have been closing that gap. Last time by was a 25:37 for Jim. 24:45 for Nick Degroot, so 0.4 of a second quicker out of that 89 car. And again, these IR18s, you pretty much just need to get to about a 1.5 second interval, and you start to pick up some toe. And I'm saying we're talking about the margin they have to Yari and Jim, but right now the third car in that train is actually Gary Corley. So actually, they're stealing some draft off him, so they're about to bring themselves back into the mix. And getting some really good insight here from Scott Rankin, who's one of the regulars here. Unfortunately, not here tonight. And I guess so Nick has mentioned he feels like his weakness is basically being able to save fuel in that number 89 car. So maybe trying to work on one of his weaknesses, if you will. So obviously now I think at this point from here on, it's pretty much a 2-stop race from here now to the end. I don't think anybody's going to try to do that 1-stopper anymore. And then indeed, sounds like most likely a VR issue for Matt Wagner, which cost him the initial grid there at the beginning. So, and actually, it looks like during the pit stop cycle, it looks like he actually wound up retiring in that 6 car. So unfortunately, that puts now 2 out. And then, of course, the other thing to mention, Boomer, with some of the issues we had under pit stop cycles, Craig Forsyth is right now first car 1 down ahead of Jim Herrick. That's just right behind him. As you can see, look at the pit stop times. It was 48.58 for Craig, 48.42 for Jim, 49 for Gary. They mentioned like that minute 20 roughly for Eric Shouse with those incidents on pit road, unfortunately for those guys. And like I said, talk about the leapfrogging, they are there already, Boomer. So remember that 2-car breakaway? It's about to be an 8-car pack, it looks like, once Joseph Morales tags onto the back of this pack here as well. So it was nice for a little bit, but Jim and Yari, they've got business back behind them.
Yeah, for sure. Starting to catch up there a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's there. And here's the thing, though, too, is we talked about the fuel and the tires and all that. So, again, Jim pitting at 32, Yari at 34, Scott at 39. So he's got a 7-lap advantage of tires on that number 51 car. So we'll see if he can get around Yari, can he do something with Jim? But right now, like I said, we talked about who's going to be how aggressive on their pit strategies. And right now, Jim's just going to live on that white line. As I said, and so we saw earlier, if you're going to pass me, you're going to have to do it the hard way on the outside. So right now, I think job number one for these guys is going to be if you get the track position, to hold it. And then it's going to be all about pit stops, entry and exit. And obviously that 51 did a great job that last time on the green flag. Cycles, Yari tries to sneak underneath here. It's close. Oh, Jim's going to close the door though. But man, that was tight between that 49 and the 51.
Yeah, definitely. These guys have been racing wheel to wheel pretty hard all night long, and it's been fun to see for sure. But yeah, like you said, Jim Brooks definitely making a big advantage. He's probably one of the first ones to pit there at lap 32, and it seemed to be the leapfrog for the pit cycle at least. Seemed to help him out quite a bit.
Yeah, so this is where Yari's kind of, I'm sure, feeling pretty frustrated because he's been such good positions last week. He's in a good position again here tonight, but just hasn't had that one little push he needs to try to get around that number 49, or sorry, to get around the 51, I'm sorry. And so, yeah, right now, some pretty hard driving between these two. But they have to remember, though, and kind of like you said, Boomer, we're not even halfway yet. So it's one of those things where I think now if you're Yari, I think you kind of think about the in and out lap and say, I think that's going to be where you need to try to make your damage done. So I feel like Yari's probably doing a little better on fuel than Jim is, again, with Jim pitting earlier, and then with Yari pitting the 2 laps later, plus having some draft here. So I think for Yari, you kind of try to do that overcut here, Boomer. You maybe pit a lap or maybe 2 later. We know there's not really any time drop off on the tires, so you just try to maximize that pit entry and exit to try to jump those guys during the pits.
Yeah, for sure. They're still within a couple tenths of their best lap times here on that last lap around the track. So definitely not a ton of tire wear concerns really whatsoever, but definitely fuel still, again, playing that big factor here tonight. We'll see. Looks like Yari Brubacher still trying to work his way around Jim Brooks on the outside, trying to earn it the hard way. And Jim obviously holding steady on that bottom lane, which is going to be probably the move of the race later on tonight to see who can hold that bottom line as best as they possibly can in that first spot to hopefully hold off whoever's charging on the outside.
Yeah, exactly right. And I think that's exactly what it's going to be, is if you can keep that guy pinned down and maybe try to cost them some momentum or maybe get him a little loose. Because we've seen a few times Jim drifts just a little bit off the bottom and Yari tried to capitalize on it but hasn't been able to. But this is actually Yari's best approach here now. He's actually gotten a nose ahead there entering turn number 3. So say if he can kind of keep working over that 51 car, I think, again, he's towards the end of the race, I think you'll see him start to pinch a lot harder. But definitely some pretty big aggressive moves from these guys here as we just crossed lap number 60. So we'll do as I say. I was about to try to run through the field here, but I'm pretty sure that pit window is about to open here in about the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 laps most likely. So say let's hang on for the moment. Once this cycle completes, pending any yellows, we will run through the field and see where your favorite drivers are currently running. But right now, say we've got, like I said, we've got about, looks like 8 cars here in this lead pack from Jim Brooks, Yari Brubacher, back to the 60 of Joseph Morales.
Yeah, pretty tight pack here so far. Obviously, even Jim Morales is maybe about 9/10 of a second off of Eric Peterson.
Caution's
there.
out.
Oh, caution.
And I believe it was Joseph DeCiro on the pit exit. As I say, for good measure, loops it again here. He's going to try to get it cut back down here. And we talked about how treacherous that pit road is, and I think that's exactly what happened to Joseph here. So we'll go back. Let's take a look to see what happened to him. And actually, looking at it closer, it looks like he may have just caught the apron here in the tri-oval, and that's just, as I say, it takes the slightest amount of doing so. And yeah, as soon as he does it, you can see the car starts to pull to the left, and at that point, he's just along for the ride. But yeah, so say then obviously iRacing throws a yellow because just potential dangerous situation there. So yeah, so that's going to shake everything up here. When we're caution right pretty much at the halfway point. Jim Brooks going to be cycled around as our leader, so he's going to be the first to hit pit road. No questions on strategy here. Everybody's going to take 4 tires and fuel. It's going to be now all about who can win that all-important race out of pit road.
Yeah, definitely. And I think most of these guys here in these Indy cars are using that pit road speed limiter. So not too much to gain on time, but there's still definitely mistakes that can be made to lose time on pit road. So we'll have to see as Jim Brooks is in his pit box for his service.
Yeah, it looks like nice and clean entry for that 51 as well. So far, it looks like everybody's hitting their marks very efficiently here. So now it's just going to be about who can get out of that pit box the quickest. And there goes 51. He's going to win that race off pit road. And it looks like Nick Degroot's going to jump ahead to second. So I think the driver that had maybe a miscue possibly is Jari Brupacher, because he comes in second. He comes out in fourth, unfortunately. So I'll say Jari not going to be happy about that one. And say looking at the pit stop time, and yeah, I'm looking. The 51's going to have to buy his pit crew some lunch after tonight, because he had a 7.92 second pit stop compared to Yari's 9.38 there. So yeah, so it looks like the fastest by far of anybody there was the 51 at that 7.92, because it was an 8.15 for Nick and 8.02 for Jeff Heisong. So yeah, unfortunately, I think just those couple tenths of a difference may have made the difference for Jari.
Yeah, definitely a big difference. Looks like Yari's pit stop was, yeah, you said, or if you didn't say it was 9.5 seconds. So, that's kind of the luck of the draw with these. I mean, that's the random number generator, if you will, that iRacing puts out there when you go to pit lane. Obviously, Jim Brooks put down the fastest time on the entirety of pit road, being about 3 to 4 seconds faster than almost anyone that actually came down and took tires.
Yes, and that's the thing too with these cars is for those that haven't driven them before, when you roll into your pit stall, it's actually, we'll see if maybe we can we'll hop on board Craig Forsyth and watch here. But say what happens is you get stopped in your lane here. We won't see it, of course, because we don't see their pit crew. But what happens is if you get too far forward, too far back, you'll actually see the crew kind of visually move forward or move backwards to try to kind of get themselves arranged where they need to be on your car. So if you can really nail your pit marks on the box there, it pretty much allows that pit stop to be just that little bit quicker. So I think that may have been what we see out of Jim, was just he was able to hit that thing to just near perfection to let that crew just immediately kind of put those tires on instead of having to adjust a little bit forward or backwards there. So also a few strategy calls here though, Boomer. We're going to have the 40 of Jim Herrick. He's going to wave around here to get back onto the tail end of the lead lap. And then Gary Corley, Eric Shouse also going to wave around to get from from 2 down to 1 down. And Craig Forsyth was actually the lucky dog on that yellow, so he also gets the wave around and is back on the lead lap, was able to get serviced in that 27 car. So we're going to restart this thing here with, it looks like now back to 14 on the lead lap, and it looks like 16 still in the race here.
Yeah, I'm extremely surprised by, was it Jim Herrick and you said Gary Corley that are getting the wave around, as well as Eric Shouse now, because they all have 26 laps on their tires. And to have used, hadn't been out for 26 laps, so fuel too, they're going to need to pit within the next 10 laps or so. I mean, they're really banking on another caution, but I would say it would be more advantageous to stick with the field, take your fuel, and only be, I guess, 1 lap down for Jim Herrick, and it would have been 2 laps down for Gary Corley and Eric Shouse. But if they do have to pit here, not under yellow, but under green, I feel like they're going to lose a lap and a half, so more time than if they would have just simply, taken their lumps, taken their pit stop, and, got back to where they were back in the pack a couple laps down. So it's an interesting call for me here. I was kind of surprised to see that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it works, because there's 2 trains of thought. Like you said, you kind of be on cycle with the leaders, or if you get that quick yellow, you look like a genius. Or also, though, this caution probably puts a few of these guys on the edge of still making it on one stop to the end, so that's probably something they'd looked at as well. But pace car's off. We're going to hand it over to that 51 of Jim Brooks as he is down and away. And so again, this restart's going to be very important for that to 51, because these restarts are where the leader is basically the most at risk. Let's say that 89 Nick Degroot can get a great run off the momentum here through 1 and 2 and then down the back. So say Jim's got to try to play a little bit of defense, try to prevent Nick from being able to leapfrog him around on the high side. So as they hit turn number 3, we'll see if he can do so. And it looks like he's going to be able to get that restart timed nicely and hang on to that lead as they come back out of 4 here, as we're going to be down to 54 to go. So now we're down to the risk and versus reward part, say here, but we're still 1 more pit stop to the end. So the question marks will be, of course, how early, how late do you pit? Do you try any sort of strategy? Because right now, if again, we talk about the 32 or so laps on field, these guys at this point, probably about 20, maybe 20 to 22, let's say, laps short on fuel. Is that enough to maybe justify the need of avoiding a second stop there? As you see Jeff Heisung try to peek his nose in there, just wasn't quite the room yet. But yeah, so this will open up a lot of potential strategies of pitting late, pitting early. So we'll see what these guys have in store here as we get down to it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that caution kind of came right as everyone was expecting to make pit stops anyway. So if anything, just kind of solidified the fact that there will be maybe one more stop left for the rest of the race. But who knows? We'll have to see. Looks like the pace is picking up here a little bit, though, because that last lap, we actually had Eric Peterson, Joseph Morales, Charles Johnson, Jason Hand, Craig Forsyth, and Jared Kaczynski, and Gary Corley even, all ran their fastest laps of the race. Everyone getting down into the high 24-second lap times, couple in the low 25s, but either 24.9s, 24.8s, or 25.0s. Picking up the pace a little bit here as the pressure gets on, as we are over halfway through this race.
Yeah, I'd say next time by we're going to be down to 50 to go in this one. So I think, again, I'd say the window opens, it sounds like pretty easily with 30 to go. So we know in about 20 more laps they could hit pit road and make it to the end. But at the same time, we saw what happened at Kansas, and I'd say Jack Walls was running the field mileage that week and was able to trap so many drivers a lap down and kind of get those freebie pit stops. So do we see anybody react to that and say, you know what, I want to do the same thing. I just want to run this thing to the absolute end. So for Jim Brooks, I mean, again, he's going to be burning the most fuel out of everybody. But I'm sure he's probably got some confidence about his in and out lap speeds under green flag pit stops. And so I think that's what he's going to be setting his sights on, is to basically just really nail those pit stops and that final hopeful scheduled pit stop for that 51 car. But right now, Nick is working him on the outside here.
I say, it looks like we actually had an issue back in the pack. Looks like Gary Godso went off track. Very weirdly, just kind of pulled to the inside grass and spun around. So I wonder if he's having some equipment issues, just as we documented with Matt Wagner as well.
Yeah, it's very possible. But yeah, he was able to take a tow and jump to the pits. He was kind of off on his own, so didn't bring out a yellow, which again, I'm sure these drivers are loving to see, because you want to be able to be in a position in these races where there's still some sort of a pit strategy. You don't want to be where it's like, okay, at this point, it's when you know you're good to the end, it kind of changes the way everybody races these races. And speaking of which, here comes Yari. Yari's never going to give up on these things. He's going to work this second lane now, almost third lane. It's looking like, again, losing a few spots under the caution. I'm sorry. So he's going to try to recover here and jump back after it. So he's trying to get to the outside of Nick and just hasn't had the momentum yet. But I kind of wonder, is anybody going to try a little bit of some fuel mileage strategy out of these things? Maybe try to do something off strategy, like say maybe save a second or two, possibly maybe hitting pit road earlier, maybe a fuel only, but most likely I'm thinking probably 4 tires and just short fill it just enough to the end.
Yeah, for that last caution, most people pit on lap 62 there, which obviously puts you at about 58 laps to go, minus 1 or 2 laps from yellow flags. But we do have a caution, out. Eric Shouse.
Oh, yeah, Eric Shouse out of 4. And this is going to be a caution, 45 to go. And the car looks like it's tracking straight, so he might be okay. And this is the absolute perfect situation for Jim Herrick, as that's going to put him back on the lead lap. And unfortunately, the bad luck for Eric Shouse, I believe, is going to be good luck as well for Gary Corley, as that's going to put him now in that lucky dog spot to get that wave around. So let's go back, though, and try to see what exactly happened to Eric here, because it came out a fair bit earlier there. Let's go back. Where are you at, Eric? And actually, you already see him getting loose there in 3, so let's back it up a little further. And
seems like
he was chasing it from turn right on first, right at the entry here. So we'll take another look at it a little closer here. Let's actually zoom in on this 72 car. So you can see his hands, and this will be the telltales. As soon as you see that hand cut to the right, you know there's something going right there. You can already see he's already trying to save it. And then he catches it, and then unfortunately, these things are not at all easy to catch. And there goes that second wave around there of the hands. And it looks like as a whole here, not too bad. I think he's going to pretty much just loop it. I don't know if he catches the wall or not. And no, yeah, catches the right rear, the rear of the car back into wall. So a little bit of damage probably for that number 72. So that's going to send a little bit of a split strategy here, though. So say you had from about, it looks like Jim Brooks on back hitting pit road. He's given up the lead for this. Eric Peterson, though, Jared Kaczynski, Joseph Morales, and surprisingly, Jim Herrick, he also stays out. I'm not sure about Jim's strategy here because I feel like he should have had to pit. Again, like you mentioned, last pitting at 38. So, I mean, that he should not have much fuel left in that tank.
Yeah, definitely showing Jim here with 39 laps on his, or 39 laps since pitting last, as well as Gary Corley and Eric Shouse. And I will say, I guess I do have to eat my words because that ended up working out very well for those three as that quick yellow came, and they are definitely going to be the benefactors from that. So we'll see. As it looks like,
yeah, here comes Jim now.
Yeah, it looks
he
like
is
Jim
hitting.
comes down with her on that. Okay, that makes sense.
So now it's going to leave 3 to stay out, which will be Eric Peterson, Jared Kaczynski, and Joseph Morales. And so, yeah, so this will be interesting because, again, at this point in the race, it's still one more stop to the end. The difference now, though, is for the 51, the 49 and company, they pretty much are going to need, when they pit, probably about, maybe 10 laps of fuel. I mean, that's going to be a couple of gallons compared to probably at least, I would say roughly, maybe at best, a half a tank for Eric, Jared, and Joseph here. So this will open up. So basically, it's going to be a 14-lap difference on fuel between those top 3 and those that pitted here.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, everyone still would need to pit, I believe, or maybe could stretch it to the end if there's another yellow, but just about everyone still kind of needs to pit. If anything, for Eric Peterson, Jared Kaczynski, and Joseph Morales, they may have to put a little bit more fuel in the tank if there were a green flag race. Green flag stop to finish this race. Got ahead of myself there. But it'll be interesting to see. I think definitely the benefactors being everyone who has pit this time. If there is another yellow, because I believe one more yellow, and Jim Brooks and everyone who has pitted will have a chance to make it the rest of the way. And it looks like we're going to actually even have Dick Degroot, Jeff Heisong, Joseph DeCiro, and Jim Herrick all topping off, including Jason Hand as well. And Eric Shouse and Gary Gotzo, a bunch of people heading down pit road to, looks like, top off on fuel. So definitely these guys getting close to being able to make it, especially if we have more yellows for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's the key right there, Boomers. If there's another yellow, at this point, I think those guys that are topping off, I think they can make it to the end, like Jeff Heisong, Nick Degroot. Because, again, we saw Nick, he went 39 laps on merit under green from the initial start of the race. So, I'll say this is going to be a restart with 41 to go. So, again, it's going to be about 2 laps outside of what Nick did that last time. But I think with one caution, that probably puts him in that window. So then the question is, though, would Jim and Yari and these guys, would they be in the position to make it to the end? But it just depends on what the strategy is on these restarts. I mean, is Nick going to kind of just turn the wick loose and go? Is he going to go full fuel save like he did on the opener? So there's a lot at play here. And it's, like I said, I think all it's going to kind of fall if and when these cautions fall. So up front, though, it's going to be that number 36 of Eric Peterson leading the way as the pace car is about to duck in, which hands it over to that number 36 car. Now everybody has to react to him. As soon as he drops, they can react. And he waits pretty long, and now he's down and away. And looking out the back, it looks like no dramas there. So a good restart here as we're back to green here. 41 to go.
Yeah, cleaning away is the 36 of Eric Peterson. Definitely a good restart here for him, as he's going to be able to very easily keep Jared Kaczynski behind him here and lead this first lap back under green.
Yeah, Jim Brooks got around Joseph Morales, but it wasn't without any drama. So it looked like that 51, maybe cold tires, but that thing just did not want to turn there in 3 and 4. Completed the pass, but really had a bad wash on the exit. Maybe also kind of been living the clean air life. It's like, oh, that's what dirty air feels like. So I'll say right now, Jim, the first of those that did pit under this yellow, with Yari Brubacher, Craig Forsyth starting to work their way back up into this mix as well. But right now, like I said, Eric Shouse leading the way. Eric Peterson, apologies, Mr. Peterson. Sun leading the way here again, down to 39 to go. as now Jim's trying to creep into the back of that 2 car, see if he can find a way around, and to say no surprise here, that 51 straight to the top. That's where he's been enjoying life pretty much all race long until he got that clean air, and then he went straight to the inside line. So we'll see what he does here. Oh, contact! The 2 drifts up into the 51 there in the tri-oval, and that's going to bring the yellow out as the 2 actually still hooked together. Now they get unhooked, and you see everybody else trying to jump around, avoid the contact here, but unfortunately some pretty significant damage for the 51, the 2 as well, and that's going to put us back under yellow here now with 38 to go. And say from this point on, I'm going to say fuel mileage from here, pretty much anybody that pits can make it. Question mark will be those that topped off. Let's go back though and see how this all came about. So let's say we'll pick it back up. So they're going here through 3 and 4. Jim's working the outside of the 2. As they come off of 4, this is where we saw the contact between the 2 of them. And we'll take a closer look. As you can see, the 51 up top, the 2 on the bottom. And they kind of meet in the middle there. Say, where again, I think they kind of are both going for the same real estate there. I think the 51 trying to bring it down a little bit. The 2 was kind of just staying on the seam where he was. So, yeah, just unfortunately towards the end of this race, they say they're kind of going for the same real estate, it looks like. And unfortunately, it doesn't work out for either of them. But the only silver lining, I guess you could say, is it looks like everybody else is able to sneak around these 2. Oh, actually, a very, very close caller for Jim Herrick. Just sneaks on by. That puts us back under yellow here. And we're going to jump to the pits because Eric Peterson is going to lead the field onto pit road. And it looks like those that topped off on that 1 to go are going to indeed stay out here. So we'll have to take a look and see how this all cycles out. But all I want to be able to say, quick caution, we'll step away for a moment and we'll get back here on the 1 to go. So stay tuned, everyone. All right, lights are off the pace car. We are at 1 to go, and we have a lot of drivers topping off here just in case we make it to the end under green, because we're going to restart this thing with 33 to go. And so now, Boomer, I'm feeling pretty confident for those that pitted, I'll say first of which is going to be Craig Forsyth. He took fuel only in that 27 car. Eric Peterson is going to come out in 6th spot after all that, but he took 4 tires in fuel. And then from Gary Corley, Jeff Heisong, Nick Degroot, and Jim Herrick, those 4 stayed out after pitting on the previous yellow. Also a beneficiary of that caution was Eric Shouse, who puts himself back onto the lead lap. And I say right now the 51 Jim Brooks is sitting at 1 lap down, the only car 1 down. So he just needs to kind of mind his P's and Q's, keep that car clean. If there's another yellow, he will cycle around back onto the lead lap. So up front, though, say going to be Gary Corley now up front here controlling this thing. So like I say, we'll see what these guys have in store for us here. But again, 4 drivers did not pit there. I'm not super confident on their fuel mileage, so it's all to play for here. It's gonna be fun to see that kind of that mix of aggression versus fuel save as we're back to green. All right, so far so good. A good start for that number 7. As it's a tight battle here right behind them with Jeff Heisong, Nick DeGroot. Right now, Nick still hangs on to that position. As we say, looking right now, everybody's all kind of, again, spaced out just a little bit here at the moment. But yeah, now it's just going to be kind of, again, who's willing to make those big moves and kind of who's trying to do some fuel mileage. For instance, will Nick just kind of laying back behind the 7 car until he knows he can make it to the end? Or does he feel like, hey, I got to get this track position as soon as I possibly can? But right now you see Gary's giving the inside line, but nobody's taking it. So I think we're maybe getting the answer of what these guys' agendas are here in this one. Also got Jim Herrick dropping back a little bit here. Not sure what happened to the 40, but he's dropped about 4 or 5 spots here in this last lap or so.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But yeah, right now though, Boomer, yeah, it's definitely from second on back. They're just kind of, I think they're just like, yeah, after you, Gary, you got this. Go ahead, buddy. But I think the one who's starting to peek into the picture right here, that 27 Craig Forsyth, he has a different agenda. I think he can probably be able to be a little more aggressive here, Boomer. Again, pitting at 84. And saying as soon as now he does that, you see now Gary's protecting the inside. Nick's starting to peek to the middle. And so now, again, they're all starting to ramp up that aggression just that teeny bit more now that 27's joined the mix here.
Yeah, definitely a bit of go time here as we are working on 28 laps to go. Definitely no time to be patient at this point.
And say, oh, Craig, big move, cuts underneath the 89 car. He is able to get to his inside. Now he's going to have the dirty air of that number 7, though. But, oh, just clears that 89 car. So he's going to now jump into P2 here, as now he's going to set his sights on the leader. So, again, we know that Craig is in a much better position on fuel. As actually, here comes Jari Brubacher. He doesn't want to let Craig have all the fun to himself as well. He's going to try to get into the thick of things as well. Both these drivers pitting at lap number 84, as we're going 3 wide for the lead here, as Craig clears Gary into turn number 3. Move that 27 to the point here. Our pole sitter now found his way back to the front. So Jari clears as well. So now we got 1, 2. These drivers pit under yellow, so it's a good opportunity for these two. Now they can try to battle out for the win. And then behind them, let's say again, some of those pitters, they're working their way forward here. Boomer Eric Peterson, he's trying to work the top side. So see if he can get up to where those top 2 are as well. And he's also on that lap 84 pit strategy. So I'll say a lot of these guys are trying to make the moves and get that track position now. So the question is, say 26 to go, 25 to go next time by. Do we think at this point, again, I think we restarted with 33 to go. Do we think they have the fuel at this point to make it to the end? Or even these guys, do we think they might have to just breathe it a little bit and to sip that little bit of fuel extra to make sure they can get to that checker?
Yeah, I think these guys, Craig Forsyth and Jari Brubacher, definitely have an opportunity to go to the distance. If you actually looks like we see Charles Johnson hitting the pit road this time by, yeah, I think that the first and second, Craig Forsyth and Jari Brubacher, have what it takes to get there. Eric Peterson definitely in 4th as well, all pitting last on lap 84. But Gary Corley, Jeff Heisong, and Nick Degroot and Jim Herrick as well are all going to need to manage and make sure that they can save the rest of the way, which will be pretty tough without another yellow.
Yeah, exactly right. Now I'd say, and we're going to throw one more into the mix here, and that's that Hot Wheels car, Eric Shouse. He topped off on that one to go Boomer, pinning at 86. So, I mean, it won't be a massive difference, but he's probably got a couple tenths of the gallons of fuel more than that 27, the 49, and 36. So, I say again, that couple tenths might allow Eric to kind of just ramp up his aggression a little bit as well. And then right behind Eric, though, he can't be too careful, though, because right behind him, you got Dan Marrero right there in that 26 car. He's trying to get into the thick of this thing as Eric gets a little aero wash there. That's going to allow that 40 Raceware car of Dan Marrero to jump to his outside here. As I say, now we are definitely getting full race mode right now. These guys are pretty much leaving nothing out to chance.
Yeah, definitely getting pretty dicey as these guys are pretty packed up here in the middle of the mix. Definitely getting exciting for sure.
Yeah, so right now Craig likes what he thinks. He's got that white line right there. As soon as I say, just to emphasize it, he cuts straight down to that white line in the middle of the backstretch. But yeah, actually you can see Eric Peterson, he's been able to jump himself up to 4th. And so now that battle is going to be right behind Gary Corley is which is the right way to go for Eric. Can he maybe clear Yari and then go after Craig? Or does he need to try to stay in tow here? But again, you see right there, just a little wash there out of 2. Then gets a big wash at the very, very exit of the turn. And say now Dan Marrero, again, he's starting to peek back into that picture as well. So it's getting pretty exciting here. Say it's definitely, like I said, I think these drivers are starting to be ready to kind of release everything they got and just go for it here at the end, because we're at 20 to go here, Boomer. So we feel pretty good about the 27, 49, 36. Question marks on the 7 and the 18 and the 89, but I think at some point everybody's going to start to basically just kind of turn that switch off and just, okay, we're going to the end here.
Yeah, for sure. These guys are pretty much almost looking like pack racing, but they're definitely looking about 2 wide, probably about 3, 4, 5, 6 rows deep or so. And I should say 3, 4, 5, 6 cars deep, like 2, 3 rows deep. But yeah, it's definitely getting exciting. You can definitely see them starting to make moves. I know obviously there's a little bit of not quite as much of, in the stock cars, you might see them try to side draft a little bit. There's not quite as much of that, I don't think, here in the Indy cars, but definitely draft still a big part of these things, and definitely the aero push more. So when you get behind somebody and get tight in that aero wash or whatever. But it's interesting to see. Obviously, we see Craig Forsyth, like we said, is the one who is running that pretty wheel on the bottom, not really coming up, and Eric Peterson is the one who's having to work hard, as well as Yari Brubacher on the outside to try and get around this leader.
Yeah, so I think Eric now, he's got himself into a very good position here with 17 to go to try to see if he can do something. And again, he doesn't need to clear that 27 car. He just needs to find a way to get that front wing just ahead of that 27 car at the start-finish line. As you see, gets a nose to the side pod of that 27 in ring 3. The short distance, of course, going to prevail. Oh, it gets a little bobble over through the bumps there in the middle of 3 and 4. So say he's going to have to kind of regroup and go back after it again here. But yeah, I really do like, though, where Eric is here at this point in the race. And again, you also wonder, though, for Craig, I mean, he at this point, there's not really any way he can save very much fuel. I know he's very wily. He loves to work fuel maps anywhere and everywhere he can. But is it an opportunity where he can do so throughout the course of this race here and still hang on to the lead? But I'll say the problem for Eric, though, is as he does that, now he's back under attack from Yari. Now Yari steals the draft on the inside. Oh, almost contact between Eric Peterson and Eric Shouse there as they enter turn number 1 there. As Eric was trying to squeeze that third lane there. Couldn't quite fit. But yeah, these guys they're going after here. They know they got to try to put themselves in that primary position to have a chance to dethrone Craig at the moment.
Yeah, definitely want to be, obviously Craig Forsyth sitting pretty in the lead there. There's not really much that's going to do a ton to really get him off the bottom here, but you definitely want to be fighting to be that second place guy just to get that chance to get to Craig's outside on this final lap here as we continue to work with less than 14 to go.
Yeah, you saw right there, Yari got around Eric Peterson, and then Eric got kind of the double dose there of dirty air, because now Eric Shouse is just trying to see if he can edge around him here. But yeah, right now I think Yari's trying to find, okay, now where do I position this thing to get that big run on Craig? And you see Yari's dropped back about 2/10 now. I think, again, trying to time it. Where do I need to position myself where I can make this big run? And again, I think he's got to try to do that. Run the clean air, cut to the bottom, get the draft, and then make the big charge. But Right now, though, he just hasn't been able to find what he needs to do to find a way to get around. But right now, I kind of think Yari might be saving here, Boomer, because he has not been closing up on Craig at all. So now, again, my question comes back, though. Can Craig make it to the end if these guys that topped off are kind of backing down on him a little bit? Because the draft should be a lot stronger than Yari has been on Craig. So getting pretty interesting here in these final 11 laps now.
Interesting for sure here as we see Craig Forsyth still continuing to lead with Yari Brubacher in second, Eric Peterson running third. That is your podium as it sits right now.
Yeah, so still in the mix here. You got Gary Corley right there, almost contact between him and Jeff Heisong is in. Everybody's starting to pinch each other, squeeze each other a little bit more. Eric Shouse almost had the 36 of Eric Peterson cleared, and then he saw it for just a split second there. I'm pretty sure Dan Marrero thought he saw his opening to try to sneak by both of them. Of course, that hole closed very quickly because these guys are quick on the mirrors and making sure they protect each other. And now here comes Yari making the moves. Now he gets the side pod of the 27 car. Let's see where Yari is in position here at the start-finish line, because he's getting some pretty good momentum, and right there was just a nose cone for Craig Forsyth, but it is definitely getting close now. I think Yari's trying to work that draft and figure out what's the right move to win this race.
All right, they're getting close there, that lap. Or no, I was just looking at the replay there. Well, they're still working outside, side by side, I should say. Craig Forsyth is still holding that pretty well on the bottom with Yari Brubacher looking to that outside. Obviously, Yari dips to the inside, tries to see if he can steal Craig off the bottom, but no dice as Craig sends it off in the bottom into turn 3 and 4. Yari's still working on the outside.
Yeah, so you're never going to get Craig off that white line with any sort of momentum. So Yari's had a couple of very, very close calls to try to get to the side of that 27 car. Oh, almost there. Contact between 2 out of 2. And that's what's going to happen is they're going to start to squeeze each other a little bit harder lap after lap. Again, Craig's going to try to kind of bully Yari a little bit up so Craig can kind of open up the wheel on exit. Yari's going to try to keep him pinched to that white line as tight as he can to hurt his exit momentum. So that's where I think the strategy is going to be, is how much you can fight that other car. But behind them, though, say Nick Degroot, he's done his fuel save. I think now he's ready to get back after and go have a fight with these guys as well. But right now, Eric Peterson stands in between him and those top two. So we'll see between these 4 drivers at the moment which one prevails. But right now, Nick is making great work on that top line. Cuts to the bottom as we're down to 5 to go here.
Yeah, this will be exciting here to see as Nick Degroot gets here. He is now on the outside of Yari Brubacher. He's going to try and see what he can do to try his hand at passing this leader, Craig Forsyth, as it looks like he's going to try and move. No, not quite. Yari Brubacher shuts the door before Nick Degroot can get into the second position.
And that's where Yari's going to have to be very careful now, because he can't open himself up too much, because as soon as he opens up a door here, that Nick's going to take that door away. So that's where Yari's going to be in kind of in between a rock and a hard place, and that's where Craig is just going to try to keep them fighting amongst themselves and let him kind of just sneak off to the victory. So it's going to be again who makes the right move when big dirty air there for Nick Degroot, washes up a ton out of 4, but still holds on to 3rd. But you saw there for a moment there, Eric Peterson was definitely looking at his chops trying to grab that 3rd spot back.
Yeah, definitely Nick doing a great job to get into the podium places so far here, but there's still 3 laps to go, and just about anything can happen, as it looks like we see Yari still working on that outside, trying to get even with Craig Forsyth as they enter into turn 3 and 4, and now, contact! Oh no, contact between the 89 and the 51.
Yeah, slight contact. I think it looked more net code than anything, unfortunately. But yeah, unfortunately, Yari, the victim on that one. I say Nick Degroot, probably a little bit of right front damage, I would suspect as well. But that's gonna do it, though. That's gonna put out the yellow, and at this point, this race is official. Again, there are no green-white checkers here, so you see the pace car racing up there to get back to them. But let's go back and take another look at this one, Boomer, and see as they were coming out of 3 and 4. You see the 89 to the inside, you see the 49 to the outside. And I say we'll take a look, but I'm pretty sure I say you can see the 49 is definitely drifting up a little bit. 49 trying to come down, and yeah, I mean that's about 5 feet of net code between the two of them.
Yeah,
And just bad luck
unfortunate
for
netcode.
Yari there. I say that's gonna be 2 heartbreakers in a row for that 49 car, unfortunately. So, yeah, so that's unfortunate though. That's gonna be a finish under yellow for these guys, which. Say for Craig Forsyth, he's not going to be too disappointed about that. You know he wanted to race it out to the end, but that being said, though, we got the white yellow here as they cross the line here. So unfortunately, that looks like the way it's going to cycle through, and it looks like after everything cycled through, you see Nick Degroot's been able to move himself back up into the second spot. So it looks like our podium, pending review, of course, looks like it will be Craig Forsyth, our winner, Nick Degroot in second, and then Eric Peterson. He was fighting Eric Shouse so hard all through that stint there at the end, and he will hold on to get that podium here tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of expected to see the 49 and the 49 and the 89 battle it out and try to get around Craig Forsyth. Definitely unfortunate. I mean, guaranteed that was definitely a netcode issue, and that's just sometimes how it goes with these things. Obviously, this is the virtual world and not the real world, and you can you think when you know the 4 corners of the car and where they are, but sometimes when that netcode takes over and makes your car a little bit wider than you think it is, it makes it tough to make a judgment call. And obviously, I don't really blame either the 89 or the 49, but definitely falling into the favor of Nick Degroot and really kind of messing up Jari Brubacher's day, who should have had a nice podium placing at the very least.
Yeah, exactly right. So, yeah, definitely a kind of a disappointing way to end it for those guys. Like I said, it was a great battle between all of them at the end. But, yeah, when it's all said and done, though, Craig Forsyth, he was able to get his way to the front when it counted at the end, and then from there protect to the finish. And he will be our winner this evening in that number 27 machine. So, definitely a big congrats to Craig here on that win. He's been going after these things as much as he can, and I say he feels like he's probably had a couple go away from him. So this will definitely feel good. And I think honestly, again, I think the pit strategy was the right call for Craig and for Eric and them that did pit there at 84, as they didn't have to do any concerns about fuel save. They could just race it out from there to the end. So I think the strategy worked well because he was able to get around those guys that were saving, like Gary Corley, Nick Degroot and company, and then he was able to keep himself in that catbird seat. So, yeah, definitely well done to him. Well done to Nick. A great recovery to get back in contention there at the end. And then Eric Peterson as well with the right strategy call to give himself a chance to win this race as well and still end up with the podium here tonight.
Yeah, definitely still a hard-fought battle there for Eric Peterson and Eric Shouse. Obviously, the Peterson beating out Shouse for the Eric battle for tonight, as he claims, like you said, that 3rd spot in that podium for tonight.
Yeah, so while we watch Craig celebrate, we'll pull up our final results before we get to those interviews. And so we'll get those right here, and you can see them at the bottom of your screen. So again, 18 drivers here tonight. With Craig getting the win over Nick Degroot, Eric Peterson, and then Eric Shouse and Jeff Heisong are top 5. And then the top from 6th to 10th there, we've got Joseph Morales, Dan Morera, Jim Herrick, Jari Brubacher, and Gary Corley. And then, 11th through 18th there, Joseph DeCiro, Jim Brooks gets back on the lead lap, but that's just kind of unfortunate. That's not what he was looking for. Was definitely in a great spot, just didn't pan out for him. Charles Johnson, Jared Kaczynski, Jason Hand, Gary Godso, and it sounds like some other issues, So 2 drivers, 16, 17th VR issues with Matt Wagner and Gary Godso, unfortunately. And then Robert DuPont's there in 18th. Here, Matt. All right, so let's talk to some drivers here, though, Boomer, and we're going to kick things off with our 3rd place finisher, and that will be the number 36 of Eric Peterson. So let's find Eric and drag him on over. All right, so we're pulling in Eric, and so Eric, we got to chat pre-race, and I talked to you. We talked about, okay, kind of a sister track to Kansas, maybe a little bit more tire wear. Definitely didn't have the timing of the yellows quite like we did last week, which maybe kind of went into your guys' favor where you don't have to stress about that part of it. But it definitely got wild there at the end, and at one point you stayed out, and then that second yellow comes out, you come in with a handful of other drivers at 84. At that point, were you good to go to the end, or did you still have to maybe do just a little bit of fuel saving before being able to kind of drop the hammer to the end there?
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of savings. I ran map 5 once I got up to speed and got behind, a car. I'll say I can't even remember. It was so busy out there. It seemed like I think I was running with Yari and behind him and around him, and just running map 5 and trying to stay in the draft and save a little bit. And I just kept an eye on the fuel, and it kept telling me how many laps I had left, and did the math, and finally went to map 1 and at the end there, and then Nick and Yari got into it and ended up moving up a spot. So that was good. But yeah, happy to finally finish up on the podium and drink some champagne.
Yeah, definitely a great run for you tonight, Eric Peterson. Happy to see you up here in the podium placings. Tell us how tonight was any different than Kansas in our first race. I know we had talked about them kind of being sister tracks, but maybe a little bit more of an abrasive surface here at Chicagoland. So I guess walk us through what some of the differences have been between the first race and this race tonight.
They were actually pretty similar. I wouldn't say there's very much differences other than I don't think the tire wear was as much here as I anticipated. So we were running pretty high weight jacker at the end there. I was plus 15 on the weight jacker as opposed to running it lower, and just seemed to hold. And I was just running 6th gear, and we're kind of running that mid to high line, just trying to keep it so it wouldn't, so I didn't have to get out of it because it did get a little aero push. If you tried to run the bottom right behind somebody, but if you ran that midline and just got half a car length above them, you get enough air on the front and it would hold. But I was breathing it a little bit going into each corner just to make sure the nose would set, especially when those guys were running on the outside. Nick went around me, felt like I was standing still when he went around me. And then I realized I was still map 5, so I dropped it to 1 and stayed with him up there at the end there.
Yeah, so then you kind of had the Eric and Eric battle, because that was the thing was, like you said, once Nick got by you, I think, like I said, it kind of looked like it's like, okay, wait a second. And yeah, so it's pretty apparent then, yeah, you drop it from 5 to 1 and go full rich and get after it. And then, so you guys were having just a dog fight there for kind of that 4th or so position for a little while. And then, like I said, you're kind of creeping back up into 3rd a little bit here and there. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you were behind a car at some point, because yeah, it was definitely some pretty aggressive pack racing there, and it was a lot of fun to watch there.
Yeah, it was kind of like Kansas when I was running 5th and 4th around Kansas. Those guys were running 3 wide up front that first race, and I just had nowhere to go. I mean, I could catch up to them and stick my nose in there, but there was just nowhere to go. So I was just kind of hoping that they'd take each other out and I would sneak in, but that wasn't happening. Those guys are, so good at holding the line and so good at getting around the corners. And it's a blessing to be driving with guys that are that good, that that you can race right next to them and not have to worry about them, running into each other. We do make our mistakes here and there, but it's good that you can trust these guys running that close with them.
Yeah, no, it definitely showed tonight. I mean, there were times where I was definitely wondering, it's like, oh, I don't know if they're gonna be able to handle this or not. But you guys did a great job of being able to keep after it there at the end. And yeah, I mean, a great fight, like I said, to still hold on to that podium spot as well tonight. So yeah, so say before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor here. Any thanks and shouts that I could give for that podium tonight?
Yeah. First of all, I want to thank my dad for watching down South Carolina. I hope he gets better soon. Thanks to Charlie Teed for getting me into this league, and your dad Jim and Matt for running it, doing a great job, and you guys up in the booth doing an excellent job. Love watching the broadcasts after the race is over, and yeah, that's about it. So, and then of course my girlfriend, she's downstairs watching, so I want to appreciate her for support to let me do this.
Nah, tell her get the champagne ready. It's time to celebrate, man. So yeah, great job tonight. And so the plus side too, Scott's not here, so you don't have to worry about that shoey. So say enjoy
No.
Actually enjoy the champagne tonight, man.
Yes, I will be drinking it out of a glass, not a shoe.
Definitely. Congratulations here tonight,
All
Eric.
right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right, that is our 3rd place finisher there. And then we'll have to jump over now to our 2nd place finisher there, and that's going to be the 89 of Nick Degroot. So we're going to pull Nick on in over here. And I mean, so you had the strategy, you pitted on the second to last yellow, top off, like, okay, we'll see. And then the yellow comes back out. You stay out with a couple others, about, let's say, all but about 5 of you, 4 or 5 of you, they all hit pit road. At that point, I mean, what's the thought? Like, okay, this is going to work. I am going to have to save and then try to do what you did and claw your way back up. I mean, how do you kind of manage the right pit call in these races to try to put yourself in that best spot towards the end here?
Yeah, I'm not happy with my decisions today. I don't think I made the right decisions throughout that race, but yeah, my whole thinking was I need to try to get this lead because the lead is so strong. You can really hold it down there. And if you can get that lead, maybe you can save enough. Maybe there'll be enough caution. So do whatever you have to do that gets you out in front. So I tried to go off strategy whenever I could. And when I saw them all pitting there right at the end of right at the tail end of what would have been the fuel window with like 35 to go, I was like, all right, let's stay out, try to stretch this fuel, save behind Gary, try to stay ahead of Jeff. Maybe we'll get another caution. If not, maybe we can get the lead. And that didn't work out because they just stormed forward and took me and Jeff and sent us to the back into the top 10. So at that point, I knew the chances of winning were not too good. So I just kind of saved there. And unfortunately, it took me so long to save. I couldn't charge forward until like 5 to go. But we got up there. We were able to cut our way through the field, and then I run over Yari. So not my best showing, but glad we got a finish. Not happy how it came though.
Yeah, well, I'll say we'll give you a little reprieve on the Yari because we went back and looked at it, and there was a solid about 5+ feet of net code between the two of you, unfortunately. So, say may not been as bad as it looked maybe when you're in the car at the heat of the moment. So, but yeah, that part is definitely a bummer there with you and Yari. But yeah, I'll say, and I'll let you take over back over there from here, Boomer.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if you had any comments on that, I'm sure definitely a little bit disappointing to race wheel to wheel so hard with Yari there at the end and not get to go all the way to the checkered flag. I guess anything else you wanted to elaborate on there?
Yeah, my thinking at the time was I just wanted to get by Yari because I thought I had an idea for how to get Craig coming to the line, coming to the checkered flag where I can nose in front of him. Obviously not clear. I'm not here with how it is on the inside with the leader, but unfortunately, I find out after that Craig was really, really close on fuel and probably would have sputtered coming out of 4 anyway. So if I'd known that, I would have calmed down a little bit with Yari and just been like, all right, let's see what happens here. Let's set ourselves up coming to the finish. But I didn't think for a second that he was going to have a fuel issue. I forgot just how early in that run he took the lead, so he was going to be burning a lot of fuel. So I may have robbed myself an actual shot at that win by getting to Yari. I definitely robbed him a shot at it, but I definitely gave it to Craig. Made sure he got it no matter what. So yeah, not the best thing to do against the guy that's probably going to be my main title rival. But glad he was able to get the win. From the perspective of he's my buddy, and he had a real tough go early in that race, had that pit road issue, so to come back from that was really impressive. But yeah, hopefully we clean up our season a bit next week. It's not been the best first 2 races for me. Had a rough race last weekend too, so hopefully next week, I think it's Gateway, we can get a whole race and put it together well.
Yeah, so it was kind of a like you said the strategy, because the other part that you had was we were watching the initial start. It's like, okay, we heard 32 laps on field. We know someone's going to go a little further. Probably 35 is realistic for a lot of guys. And then here comes Nick, 39, hitting pit road at 39. It's like, all right, maybe he can try to see if he can try to 2-stop this thing and kind of jump everybody. But then after the pit stop cycle, you kind of go ahead and start leapfrogging, which was, I mean, you guys did a great job. I think it was you and Jeff Highsong leapfrogging back to Jim and Yari there. At that point, Boom and I were talking. It's like, all right, well, the 2-stopper's out of the question now, but just a great job working together, though, to get back to that lead pack and kind of give yourselves another chance at it.
Yeah, Jeff's great, but that was another strategy blunder for me at the start of that thing because I was like, all right, let's give up all this track position, see if we can stretch this to a 2-stop. And I needed to get to 40, 41 laps to do that. And even that was going to be hard doing that for 3 consecutive runs. And we couldn't quite do it, even though I was saving hard from the get-go. So then we had to make up that track position. And I think if I had just gone from the start with how we had Wagner coming out as a lap car and, given the leader dirty air, I could have gotten the lead and maybe could have held it for the rest of that thing. But yeah, it just didn't work out. Made the wrong strategy moves today and made myself feel bad at the end of getting up into Yari, net code or not. I definitely pushed up the track there. So it's really unfortunate. And hopefully I can bring back better racecraft next week.
So it's like, unfortunately, I said not the way you want to end it, but still exciting nonetheless, man. But before we let you go, though, definitely want to give you the floor. Because I'd say, you got some great sponsors and associates on there that kind of help you and support you. So definitely want to give you the floor for them.
Yeah, thank you. As always, Factorback Motorsports, CobyMoore.com, Motorsport.com, Blaze Pods, Wegmans, Degroot, View Hall Detailing, Cowboy Shit. Everybody else supports this team. And hopefully we can go get a win next weekend. It's been a couple races. I don't like having a 0 in that win column, so let's go get one.
Yeah, so it's hard to feel bad. And it's like, oh man, I haven't won in a few races. So yeah. So
Exactly.
talk to us when you start wondering when you last won a race. But no, in all seriousness, though, I mean, great job though tonight. It's like obviously a tough fought one to get back even up in contention at the end. So it's really exciting to see you work your way back up there. So, like I said, go get him after next week. I say Gateway will definitely be its own little animal. So that'll be a fun one to see what everybody's got in store for it. So good job tonight though. Look forward to seeing you next week, sir.
Definitely, thank you guys.
Yeah, definitely looking to expect to see Nick sometime back on top of the scoring pylon soon for sure.
Yeah, so that's one of those things that's probably few and far between when that's going to happen or not happen. So that being said, we got to talk to our race winner here. That's going to be the 27 of Craig Forsyth, and apparently a very low on fuel Craig Forsyth from what we got to hear from the interviews there a little bit earlier. So Is that caution there? Is that a saving grace, or were you pulling maybe a little bit of a Dover 2.0 and running some fuel map 5s in the turns and back to rich on the straights? I mean, how hard are you working there to keep that white line and keep those fuel mixtures to perfection there?
Well, we topped up on the previous caution, so I knew I had more fuel than Nick and those guys. So it was like, map 1, I'm going past them. I worked hard. Drove around everyone, and then I got to the front and I kept looking at my fuel calculator and going, oh, I'm good. I don't have to change it. I can just keep going. And then I glanced over and I'm like, I'm looking at the wrong number. And I looked down at the proper number I'm supposed to look at, and I'm like, and I'm short fuel now. Okay, out of map 1, we need to go into fuel save mode.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like it was going to come down to a bit of a fuel savings battle here tonight. Obviously with the not quite being able to be a 3-stop strategy for the entirety of the 120 lap stint. So yeah, I guess if you want to talk through any of your strategy that you thought you had going into tonight and how it eventually played out for you.
Yeah, I mean, at the start of the race, I was going to try to go for the 40 lap run. I got a little too aggressive with some of the guys burning fuel, and I think I came in on lap 38 or 39, just a bit short, but I thought I could still recover from that. And then I had the incident with Shouse, and that was bad because as I was going through the grass, realizing that I'd missed pit entry now, I was like trying to figure out, looking down, trying to calculate, can I get the car can I get the car around one more time? And I was like, I can't. I'm going to run out of fuel in the back straight. So I had no choice but to slide into pit lane and eat the 40-second hold and try and recover from there. And I mean, the cautions fell when I needed them, and I was able to get back around and get the fuel I needed to take advantage and go back into aggressive attack mode.
Yeah, attack mode you definitely did there at the end, Craig. And yeah, I say, and so I guess the question though that I'm definitely wondering, probably others are too, is so how short at the end were you prior to that? Not how short. Sorry, you say you're looking at the numbers. How far off was it telling you were prior to you then going straight back to fuel save?
When I noticed I was a lap short, just over a lap short. So then I went into fuel save mode. At the point the caution came out, I was going to cross the line sputtering. That's assuming that, I mean, I was playing with the maps through every corner, depending on whether Nick or Yari were getting whether the guys were getting a run on me or not. So again, doing whatever I could just to make sure that they, held the whole, as long as you hold the low line, you don't need to go full bore all the times. You can just use it defensively when you need to.
Yeah, so yeah, it kind of sounds like a Dover 2.0, but I'll say obviously on the celebratory side of things, obviously the caution coming out allows you to save a little bit of fuel, do some donuts as we're able to watch here as we talk to you, but yeah, like I said, I mean, just the recovery, and that's the thing. It's like, oh yeah, pole to win, yeah, good job, Craig, whatever. It's anything but, like you said, having the pit road miscue with you and Eric, and then having to recover from that, get a lap back. And fight to stay that first car one down to get that position, and then to work your way back up through the field. Definitely a well-earned paycheck here tonight, Craig, to get that win, man. So great job tonight, and definitely want to give you the floor for any thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that victory this evening.
I mean, first off, got to thank Jim over at 40 Racewear. I mean, he's the car sponsor, he's the team sponsor, he's also the one of the series sponsors this year. So good to have him on board and seeing the involvement of the whole 40 Racewear team. And I mean, you guys, putting on a good show. And I got to thank all the guys that donated this year. I mean, Matt and your dad, all the guys that put in the money to so that we it's free entry this year for the drivers. So we're getting interest again from a lot of drivers who had left over to the NASCAR side of Area 51, and it's nice to see them back in the car and driving, and hopefully we keep seeing an increased car count and more cars this season, because it's nice to have a big field.
Yeah, it's definitely been fun. Like I said, yeah, definitely a big shout out to all the people able to donate their time and of course the financial donations to help be able to afford the broadcasts and the races and all that. I mean, of course, hosting the race is not free either. So yeah, so definitely a lot going on behind the scenes. And so yeah, definitely a big shout out to, like I said, to Jim with 40 Racewear helping sponsor, like I said, Merkel Racing Engines with Todd Merkel doing a lot as well. There's a lot of great associates, and so we'll run through a bunch of them as well too tonight. So, but Craig,
thanks. I knew I wasn't going to get them all.
Oh no, yes, I got to make a list of it too, because like there's more than I can count. So yeah, so but we got a great group of drivers and supporters, and it's a lot of fun to see everybody as involved as they are with the league, and you can tell everybody wants this thing to succeed as it has, and it has grown. So it's great. And yeah, so definitely Craig, great job tonight, man. Say, like I said, hard earned and well deserved one tonight. And yeah, say good points night as well. And say Nick's already eyeballing you. I mean, we're 2 in, and he's already thinking about points in that championship, and he's already pointing at you to one to keep a closer eye on. So
well, he's going to get the advantage because I'm not here next week. So that's already one down.
All right, well, we'll try to find you a doppelganger, see if we can sneak him in there for a Freg Corsyth, if you will. So, but no, great job though tonight, Craig. Enjoy this one, and so yeah, I guess unfortunately, definitely we'll miss you next week, but so it gives you just an extra week to enjoy this one tonight, man.
You betcha. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Boomer. Stay safe.
All right, Boomer, that's going to do it for us this evening at Chicagoland. And yeah, so in the end, Craig Forsyth going to get the win here tonight. But yeah, definitely just a wild one with the strategies, the cautions, and then the fuel mileage at the absolute end. And in the end, Craig's able to just do enough and catch a little break there at the end with that unfortunate netcode situation between Yari and Nick. Hang on and grab that win tonight.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a disappointment to not see it go all the way to the end. But that is the IndyCar series, and that's the way it is. Just in real life, it happens when there's a late yellow and there's not a green-white checkered. So I love that they're kind of taking it back to the IndyCar roots and kind of following the actual IndyCar series schedule and, well, maybe not schedule, but just format, I should say, more than anything. So yeah, definitely unfortunate to see that. And sometimes the net code giveth, and sometimes the net code does taketh, unfortunately, tonight.
Yeah, indeed, you are correct. And yeah, so exactly right, though. Next week, we will be at the Worldwide Technology Raceway, a.k.a. Gateway. And then after that, over, say, if you like the high-speed stuff, we're back at Michigan in 2 more weeks. So that being said, though, still lots of racing to go. Again, this is the start of week 2 last night with the Next Gen Series, then here, and then Thursday night with the Super Speedway Truck Series, and then to finish off the week with the Sunday Super Speedway Xfinity Series. So, Boomer, as always, sir, a pleasure. Looking forward to hitting you up again in just a few nights' time. And, of course, everybody that watches, that supports us here at Green White Checker TV, thank you so much. It makes it so fun to do, and as honestly wouldn't happen without the support and the viewership. So really want to thank you all for watching and supporting us. And, yeah, hope you have a wonderful evening. We'll be back in 2 nights' time at the Talladega Super Speedway, I believe, for the Super Speedway Truck Series. So until then, have a wonderful evening, and stay safe, and we'll see you all on Thursday night. Take care, everyone.